Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another week of 2 Point Conversion. I'm John alongside my co-host Nico, and we got a good show for you guys today. A little different than normal. We're not going to do our usual Giants-Jets breakdown. I think it would just be a little too depressing to break down that Giants game against the Cowboys.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, we don't have to do it, so we're not going to do it today. One shout out for WIUR. They're having their festive frequencies going on tomorrow night, 7 p.m. in McGrath. So if you're around, you're on campus, check it out. Great group, great e-board there. So meet the guys, have a good time, get into the holiday season. You know what's up. But Nico, let's jump right into it. We got a little bit of a shorter show today. I know you got a big test coming up, and we're not doing our normal schedule. So big storylines around the sports world that I wanted to talk to you about, Nico. The Oakland A's, the Oakland Athletics move to Vegas got approved this morning. Yep. I think unanimously the whole league voted on it. All the owners
voted unanimously for that decision.
Thoughts, quick impressions. What are you thinking about that?
I mean, in my opinion, you know how I feel about Vegas teams. I've discussed it previously. Like, I'm not a real big fan of teams moving to Vegas because there's a lot of distractions over there. Mm-hmm. But you know what's worse than Vegas?
Oakland, right?
Yeah, Oakland's worse.
But you know what?
There's nothing going on there.
So the immediate news when it first broke, I heard it over the radio this morning. I think we both kind of expected that to happen, right? I mean, attendance was way down this year. They did fans.
Listen,
in Oakland
they've
did
been
a reverse
in a hard
boycott.
rebuild for. They've been in a hard rebuild for as long as I can remember, like the past 5-10 years. I mean, they've been god awful.
It's been a while, but so we kind of felt that was coming. But the news that stood out to me that I didn't really like was their contract, their lease to play in the Oakland Coliseum ends after next season. And then they're not expected to move to Vegas till 2028, if I saw that correctly.
Yeah.
So that leaves them 4 seasons where they're going to be sharing stadiums in San Francisco. They might be playing in a college stadium. I don't love that. That's like kind of what a bad team does, like a losing team does. Who are you going to sign? Who are you going to attract when you don't even have a home ballpark? Like,
I mean, I feel like
so. Like, it goes to the point you just said. They've been in a rebuild for the last 5, 6, 7 years. You're just adding now another 40 years onto that. It's tough.
Listen,
I feel bad.
I honestly think
fans,
this ownership, this ownership group is not the best. Far from it. And I kind of, correlate them to like how the Arizona Coyotes of the NHL handle their business. We're just going to be okay being bad. They're okay. They're okay being bad. They're moving stadiums and they're okay. Like right now, the Arizona Coyotes play at Arizona State University's hockey, in their arena. They play in a college arena, right? And it's super small, like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. Like that's it's the smallest stadium by like 15,000, right?
Yeah, and I saw like there was a TikTok last week, NHL players discussing their least favorite place to go play on the road, and almost all of them said Arizona.
Well,
because they got trailers outside for like.
Yeah, it's not a professional stadium at all.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of looking at this like how the A's have been doing. I mean, the A's have been kind of coasting through seasons. They know they're going to be bad. They're going to continue being bad. They have no fans. They're ready to move. And I think for the next couple of years, they're going to be okay with just, hey, we'll play somewhere. We'll play in a college. We'll play just until it's ready.
But on one thing,
and then when we get there, then we'll, build.
Okay, but it's just for me, for baseball, it's like hockey, 82 games, still a ton of games, and you're still playing in a college park. But baseball, 162 games, right? 163 they play.
Yeah,
like that's a lot of games, and you got to share a ballpark. That's going to be tough. But
obviously Oakland's, they're moving to a much bigger market. Maybe they're just kind of banking on, hey, when we get there, when we get to Vegas, we'll be all right. We'll bask in the nice new market. We'll get players. We'll start building, and that's when we can start
trying to
winning.
do what the Golden Knights did, win a championship in Vegas.
I mean,
right?
Golden Knights are in a little bit of a different because they did have the entry drafts because they were a brand new team. So they do get benefits of the entry draft, which in the NHL is by far the easiest. For new teams to succeed, it's by far the easiest. You got to pick from each team that you got to pick from each team's players that aren't protected. They can protect a certain amount of players each team. So you're kind of gifted a team at that point. Yeah. But
obviously not going to happen with the A's.
They're obviously not going to happen with the A's. They're going to need time. And I wouldn't put it past a bunch of players who want to go play in Vegas.
Yeah, that's possible. We'll see.
I mean, I'm trying to I'm really trying to, like, understand when their last winning season was.
Yeah, it's been a while. All right, but in other baseball news, they announced the Cy Youngs last night, and they'll
Yep.
announce the MVPs tonight. Our guy Garrett Cole wins his first ever Cy Young, well deserved, unanimously voted on by Baseball Writers of America. He's finished in the top 5, Nico, 5 times before, and he finally gets one. And if you look back at his last season in Houston, he probably should have won that one too. There was a big debate on the radio this morning. I mean, the stats were just
That year
cracked.
was also, who won it that
I
year?
think it was Verlander.
Yeah, it was I think it was Verlander who won it that year, so, like,
But the only stat he really had him on was, you know what? It's weird. I feel like the stats that the baseball writers use to judge always changes, goes up and down. It used to be wins. Now they understand, okay, wins not so much. We're going to look at strikeouts, ERA.
yeah, I mean, this is where voting always becomes, like, a factor, obviously, because we talked about it last week where Volpe won the
The
Gold
Gold
Glove,
Glove,
and it
yeah.
didn't really make sense to us, but I guess, like,
This
in
one makes sense. He deserved it.
no, this one 100% makes sense. He deserves it. It just sucks that as a Yankee fan, one of the worst seasons in the past 10
Yeah, I
years,
know. It's tough.
ends in a Garrett Cole Cy
So I heard
Young.
some interesting stats too on the radio this morning when they were talking about this. He's the first Yankee pitcher to win the Cy Young since I think 2001 when Roger Clemens won it. And it's the
2000.
first time a Yankee pitcher has won a Cy Young. The Yankees didn't go on to make the World Series. So
Wow.
that's crazy. That's really nuts. So goes to show you when the Yankees have a dominant pitcher, they usually have the hitting to back it up. Not this year, Cashman.
I mean,
So
listen,
yeah,
talk about Cashman. Can we break off for 2 seconds to talk about Cashman?
yeah. Keep it quick. Keep it quick. I want to get to this other stuff.
Uh, he got me so angry the other day when he was like, even Hal came out and said, like, I like his energy, but he's got to back it up with he's got to calm down with the
Yeah,
language. Like, it kind of looks like like Cashman's like acting like a baby and
he was
just crying.
very, very defensive.
He
Very
was like
defensive.
defending his position. It's like, yo, you haven't been good in a long time.
This
Like,
is a
just
guy who
accept
hasn't
it.
been on the hot seat ever. And now he's on the hot seat and he's feeling it.
Yeah,
And
he's
he
not doing
doesn't really
well.
know how to react well to it. Let's just be clear, right, Nico? He has to have a good offseason. He's got to either go out and get us Bellinger or Soto, and he's got to go out and get maybe Yamamoto too. You know, I mean, you got Garrett Cole and you got Aaron Judge playing at very near the top of their games. Two of the best players in baseball. Not the two best, but they're up there, right? They're up there. And if you don't surround those guys with talent and the peak of their career, Cashman, you got to go. We'll find someone else who will, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
Moving on from the Yankees. Quickly, I know I said we weren't going to cover the Giants, but just a fact for the Giants. With the Giants' loss to the Cowboys and the Cardinals' win, the Giants are currently second in draft order. I like that we're moving up in the draft, but I hate the situation we're in. For so many years, we were playing in games that didn't matter. You know, we were eliminated by Thanksgiving, and it's tough. It stinks. It's not the position I want to be in, but hopefully this allows us to get our quarterback of the future.
This is the moment where we really figure out what this GM and this coach are able to do.
Yeah.
Because if we go into this the season's over. If we go into this offseason and we do what we're supposed to do, and that is a hard rebuild.
Yeah.
If we do that and they build their team that they want, maybe I have hope. But if they do a soft rebuild and they try to, oh, we'll put in one piece, we'll put in two pieces. It's not going to work.
I agree.
I think that you definitely need to draft a QB and you need to draft these young pieces that you're going to eventually put into the lineup after,
Definitely.
after a couple of years.
I don't want to spend all day on this debate, but right now, Drake May or Caleb Williams?
In my opinion, I'm very biased. I like Drake May just because
I'm with you on that.
Caleb Williams is a more talented quarterback. Absolutely. He is a better fit quarterback, in my opinion, for the league, right? I don't like his attitude. I don't like sometimes when he plays bad, he plays really bad. I don't like the way that he goes about himself. He's very cocky. He's very self-centered. His his viewpoint of coming into the league as like, oh, you'll be happy I'm here, not like, oh my god, I'm going to the NFL. No, you're gonna be happy that I'm
And
coming.
it seems like that mindset never works out. I mean, you look
Never
at some
works.
of those guys.
You look at a Johnny Manziel, doesn't work. You look at Baker Mayfield for a little bit. He switched up and he's doing a little bit better now, but didn't work at the beginning.
Remember Josh Rosen? I'm gonna make every team who passed on me regret it.
Regret
Sometimes it works out. Like some guys have that dog in them. But what I like about Drake May is he reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert, the build, the athleticism, the strong arm. And one thing that concerns me about Caleb Williams, not so much like an intangible thing that concerns me about Caleb Williams is look at quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley has coached. Mixed results in the NFL. Baker started off okay, won a playoff game. Since then, not so much. Kyler Murray, I mean, I think he made the playoffs once. Injuries have derailed him a little bit. Does Lincoln Riley prepare quarterbacks for the NFL, or does he prepare them just to put up stats?
See, that's one of the biggest debates. I feel like if you look at someone's talent, right? You look at their talent and you're like, wow. But sometimes that talent doesn't really correlate. If it doesn't really translate to the NFL, if ever. Like maybe it'll take a couple years to translate, sure. But if ever, I mean, look at Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was a undoubtedly fantastic quarterback in college. His stuff doesn't translate. It hasn't. Maybe it will, a couple of years. It hasn't.
We'll see about
that. In my opinion, Drake May is more fit. There's one gripe I have with his game. Just one.
Let me hear
it. Caleb Williams, I have a couple. Drake May, I only have one. If you catch a UNC game, every single game, he's really not safe with the ball. Like whenever he scrambles outside the pocket, he loves hurtling and jumping and flipping.
He does. Yeah, I saw that last game.
Dude, just get down. In the league, that's the only thing that's got to change. Get down, hold the ball.
He'll learn quick.
I don't need another Daniel Jones jumping over people and trying to get touchdowns and then cracking his neck. I don't need that. So that's the only thing. I see a little bit of Daniel Jones in Drake May.
It's a good take. I like it. I see Herbert. I really do.
I absolutely see Herbert.
Tall,
absolutely.
Strong arm.
It'll be nice to see him. In my opinion, that's who I think the Giants are going to go with. I think Joe Shane is going to lean towards Drake May more than Caleb Williams.
I caught the Drake May versus Duke game, North Carolina versus Duke game last weekend. I was watching it with some friends, and I liked what I saw from Drake May. It was a double overtime game. It was a really exciting game.
Listen, he's not playing against, in my opinion, the best caliber of football. I mean, their division's like.
Yeah, I know. ACC is a little weaker. Yeah.
I mean, ACC is not a little weaker, but just UNC is a weaker team in the ACC, in my opinion. And
they're ranked.
No, absolutely. This year, because of, I'm saying as a program, in my opinion.
No, they're a basketball school. They're still the basketball school.
They're very much a basketball school. I mean, you look at, I know this year is a little bit backwards, but you look at football in the ACC, you look at Clemson. You look at, Miami and
Florida State.
That's
and usually it.
Louisville when they had Lamar and stuff like that. But I don't know. UNC's a little rough. You look at
their coach knows football. Mac Brown.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at players who come out of these teams in the NFL, who come out of these teams that are, maybe outside those, a good Big 12 team or teams like that. Like you look at, I'm going to say,
I get what you're saying.
Zach Wilson
competition that he's seen.
Yeah. Zach Wilson coming out of BYU. I mean, even we're seeing it now with, I think you could say it with Josh Allen. Like, he's kind of struggling.
And but that's not a result of Wyoming.
It's not a result of Wyoming, but maybe we're seeing it like maybe he didn't have all that.
I don't know if that's fair.
Josh Allen, I'm very low on at the moment.
I know you are.
And I think that these programs that aren't the big programs, the quarterbacks scare me, which is why Caleb Williams, for me, is I wouldn't take him because of his attitude, but I feel like he'll be more prepared, in my opinion.
Moving on, the Jets offense continues to look dead. Couldn't score a single touchdown against the Raiders. They lost 16-12. On the other hand, the Raiders look like they have new life under their rookie head coach, Antonio Pierce. It was a pretty ugly game, but the Raiders are 2-0 now with Pierce as their head coach. Back to 500 on the year. Maybe some new life there in Vegas. Maybe, possibly.
They got a rough schedule coming up.
I know, and
they really do.
Like they got. It's weird, yeah.
I mean, listen, Aiden O'Connell, he's been game management.
Yeah.
He's been a game management quarterback, but they have a really rough schedule coming up. I mean, you're talking about the Dolphins. This is back to back. I'm reading them in order. The Dolphins, the Chiefs, Vikings, Chargers, Chiefs
Oof,
again.
that's brutal.
I
That's
mean,
tough.
that's
That's a
the
tough stretch of games.
Dolphins, Chiefs, Vikings, Chargers, Chiefs.
But I think what
And
the
then they finish
players
the
on that
season
team.
Colts, Broncos. If they
Oof,
can withstand maybe going 500 in the rest of the season against the Dolphins, the Chiefs twice, and the Chargers and the Vikings, they can win against the Colts and the
yeah,
Broncos
maybe.
and maybe have
But
a
like,
shot.
I don't know if this. Here's my thoughts on the Raiders. I think the players just wanted to see some life. They wanted to see some changes, and he's
Absolutely.
delivering on that.
I think
Right
for
now, I don't know if he's coaching for a playoff spot. He's coaching for a job, right? He's
and
coaching for a
I think
permanent
he'll
job.
get it. I think he'll get it at this point.
All right. I don't want to spend all day on the Raiders. Big news, big news out of the AFC North. Deshaun Watson will undergo season-ending surgery on his shoulder. I believe that the Browns announced that they're going to be going with PJ Walker, but man, this is really heartbreaking for the Browns, who looked like they just had a great point in their season. They beat the Ravens 33-31 in a great game, and they lost Nick Chubb early in the season. Down goes Deshaun. Man, what do they do?
I think this can kind of like be put up to like how maybe well they're put together as a team, because they did lose Nick Chubb, but they bounced back. Jerome Ford has been playing fantastic. Kareem Hunt, which they picked up, has been playing very, very well. So kind of it almost looks like you're not really missing Nick Chubb at that point. And Deshaun's missed a couple games this season that they've won.
Yeah.
I mean, PJ Walker has come out and won some games.
It's just, my point I was trying to make, Nico, is just like the what ifs. Like,
yeah, I mean, what if Deshaun was
and a healthy Nick Chubb?
But you could chalk up this thing because I think the injury occurred in the third quarter of the game.
Yeah,
so he was playing a bunch of snaps with a broken shoulder. Like Deshaun was out there playing with a broken shoulder.
I was trying
to learn with a high ankle sprain,
injury, but it was kind of confusing me. It's a ball and socket injury or something.
So the problem,
it's broken though, right?
I'll give credit to the fan here, where they had a nurse on and she described what happened. But so inside your shoulder, right? Obviously, it's a ball and socket where your arm connects to your shoulder socket. Inside there's a crack, right? Ooh. And if that crack expands and you don't get it worked on, right? If it expands more, it could hit an artery.
And this is throwing shoulder, right?
This is throwing shoulder.
Brutal, man.
It can hit an artery, and that could be really bad for him.
That's brutal.
So not only was he having a broken shoulder, a ball and socket injury, but he also had a high ankle sprain at the same time.
Jeez.
Like I was playing with two injuries that would put out, most quarterbacks.
So the Browns are 6-3 right now. Nico, my question to you
is, how many games of those do you know have PJ Walker won?
I don't know.
Because I'm pretty sure Deshaun's been out for 3 games.
He missed a couple of games, yeah. Browns are 6-3.
Yeah.
Can their defense do enough to get them into a playoff spot in a very competitive AFC North? What do you think?
Well, if we're looking at the AFC North last week, I think me and you this week were both really shocked what happened. Like,
yeah.
I was very high. You were very high on the AFC North, and like the Browns, the Bengals, the Ravens. I mean, these are all teams that could.
The Steelers
continue
to find ways to win.
I hate the
Steelers. But they just continue to find ways to win.
These teams, we were very high on them, and then we saw like kind of a disappointing week for them. The Bengals lost to the Texans. The Ravens lost to the Browns lower in the division, and the Steelers won. How do the Steelers keep winning these games?
I didn't break it down here. I don't know. I really don't know. Every time they win, I see a stat. The Steelers are outgained, and they continue to find how. I don't know. Their defense, fourth quarter, Mike Tomlin. First ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's absolutely
that guy is such an amazing
because I'm
coach.
not like we're not high on Kenny Pickett. We're not high on Najee Harris. We're not high on the wide receiver room. I don't understand.
The defense I'm high on, but that's
defense
about it.
Is always good.
What?
But I don't understand how they're 6-3.
Yeah. No, I mean Mike Tomlin, what an amazing coach. I think, Nico, coaches that I've seen in my lifetime, Belichick's 1, Tomlin's got to be 2, and close to. Close to.
If we're looking, we see the Browns and the Steelers both tied at 6-3. The Ravens are 7-3, and the Bengals, coming off that loss, are now out. So this is we'll talk about that in a second. Like now, the Bengals are out of a playoff position at 5-4, right below the Texans. So this week is going to be, I think, probably the biggest week for the AFC North, just because they're all playing each other. Ravens are playing Bengals, Browns are playing Steelers.
Oh, okay.
So this is a big week for the AFC North. If we see, honestly, if we come in next week and we see the Bengals beating the Ravens and the Steelers beating the Browns, I don't know what I'm going to say about the AFC North. I don't know what could happen.
I have no idea what can happen.
Because
Yeah,
you're talking about two teams that I honestly thought this division is going to end probably with Ravens and Bengals making the playoffs here. But the Browns are 6-3 and the Steelers are 6-3. Bengals, they had a rough week.
They got to step it up.
They got to play well. If they beat the Ravens,
but the Texans are no scrubs. The Texans are no scrubs. But the Bengals should win that game. The Bengals should win that.
Bengals should have won that game. They were holding the lead. I mean, CJ Stroud coming in and just absolutely.
He's a dog.
He's such a dog. I mean,
he's a dog.
But we're looking at these teams and.
Last thing I'll say.
I don't know about the AFC North. I'm up in the air.
Last thing I'll say about the Browns. It is crazy. They could have Josh Dobbs as their starting quarterback right now. Traded him to Arizona before the season started. Now he's on a Vikings team, Nico. That if the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs. Josh Dobbs, baby.
Yeah, I don't, and he's getting Justin Jefferson back. Yeah, he's coming back this week. Like,
man.
Where?
I don't know.
At the beginning of the season, the first couple weeks, I'm like, oh, the Vikings are garbage. Like the Vikings were terrible. 0-3 to start the year. Like they are terrible. They're not going anywhere. Kirk Cousins goes down. I'm like, all right, this is the dagger. They no JJ, no Kirk Cousins. They pick up Josh Dobbs. I'm like, what are the Vikings doing here? Guy wins back-to-back games. Easily.
Yeah. No, I know. And I don't want to spend all day talking about I want to talk Thursday Night Football with you, Nico. So we got the Bengals 5-4 at the Ravens 7-3. Finally, we get a good Thursday Night Football game.
After a couple sleepers.
I know I'm probably being dramatic, but it just feels like ages since we've had a good Thursday night game.
You see the NFL came in this year and was like, all right, let's give a couple primetime games to the Giants. Let's give a couple prime games to the Jets.
Yeah.
Let's give a couple primetime games to the Patriots.
Before we
talk
about our predictions in this game.
Good Thursday night.
Good Thursday night.
Good Thursday night.
But injuries will play a factor. The Ravens' number one cornerback, Marlon Humphrey, who's a dog, one of the best corners in the league, he's not playing, and their Pro Bowl tackle, Ronnie Staley, not playing either. On the other side of the ball, the Bengals are going to be without T. Higgins. Nico, thoughts, like key plays? What you mentioned a couple guys before the show that you're going to have your eye on. Just give me a quick rundown. We don't have too much time left. We got 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes. So this game. This is a very, if the Bengals can't pull off this game, they, you go back to 5-5 and now you're really, sinking for a playoffs. Like you're trying to get that playoff spot. Texans are 5-4. If they're playing Cardinals, who knows what's going to happen in that game with Kyler back, but this is a big game for the Bengals. You come in, it's going to be rough without T. Higgins, but I don't know. I don't see a way for the Bengals to win this game unless the Ravens play a really bad game. I mean, you're looking at like you have down here. I mean, both Heisman winners for both quarterbacks coming out of college.
Two of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL.
Two of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL.
They each have their own unique swagger and charisma. Heisman winners. I mean, different paths in the draft, though. Joe Burrow was a guy who was undoubtedly the number one selection. Lamar, disrespected, won a Heisman, set all sorts of records. He didn't go into the last pick of the first round.
So he kind of created the stigma. Not created the stigma, but he wrote the stigma. He wrote that, hey, we're taking mobile quarterbacks now. Like he changed the league 100%, in my opinion, where that's why he went so low. I mean, no one really wanted to take him because they
said he was a running back.
They said he was a running back. They said he's really not, he doesn't have a great arm. But hey, turns out you don't really need a fantastic arm to be a quarterback in the NFL. You need to have God-given talent.
Yeah.
And we're looking at all these quarterbacks coming in now who, resemble his game at some points, but
youngest ever MVP in league history.
I mean,
you got to respect the kid. I mean, both are still going after that Super Bowl. To Burrow's advantage, he has played in a Super Bowl. Lamar hasn't made it yet.
Yep.
Burrow's played in the Super Bowl.
They're both probably the top 5 most talented quarterbacks in the league, 100%.
And both are going to be angry coming off a loss.
Both are going to be coming off a loss. I think the Ravens are going to be more upset coming off a loss to a division rival. Okay. But you look at these stats for Lamar in previous years. He's 7-2 against the Bengals, 3-1 against Burrow.
He has
He
the
wins.
advantage. Yep.
Listen, he beats AFC North rivals. He does. That's what he does. So honestly, I feel like the Ravens are really deep. I feel like they have a lot of running backs that are performing. They have a lot of wide receivers that are performing. I mean, performing in a way that fits the Ravens
Yeah, they
system,
run
I
that
should say.
committee back there.
I mean, you look at their wide receiver core and it's like weak in my opinion, but they make it work
Yeah.
somehow. They really do. Lamar makes it work just because of scheme. And in my opinion, I don't see a way the Bengals can pull through here. I really
see a
don't.
way, and it goes through Jamar Chase. I see a way, and it goes through Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd needs to help him, and Joe Mixon needs to contribute on the ground.
But what are you going to do, especially, Tyler Boyd doesn't need that much attention, and now with T. Higgins out, they're going to be doubling Jamar Chase. I mean,
he's good enough to beat those doubles, though. If he really wants to go get it.
But is Burrow playing at his height where he could fit in those creases and fit it?
They lost last week, but that loss isn't totally on the offense. They still put up 30 points.
Listen, I'll give defensive credit. The Bengals defense has been struggling, and we've been seeing it for the past couple of weeks. They've been struggling. We're talking about putting up, what was it, 32 points last week, I think?
No,
30 points last week against the Texans. They 27 points against the Titans, 24 points against the Browns, 27 against the Ravens. They did. So this is the second game of their.
Yeah, they lost the Ravens earlier in the year.
They lost 27-24, and that's when the Bengals weren't really playing good. And I don't know. I just don't see. I think the Ravens are a way better all-around team, in my opinion. I really do. Like, at least in the regular season, they're a way better team all around.
Okay.
That in my opinion, I feel like they're built more, to win games, and the Bengals haven't been really playing well.
I'm excited for this game. Two guys I want to shout out though for the Ravens. I mean, this new guy they have, Keaton Mitchell. Nico, some stats for you. I know they run a split backfield, so doesn't get a ton of touches, but last 2 games, he's gotten 12 carries for 172 yards. That's 14.3 average a carry. He's got 2 touchdowns. Gus Edwards has been a touchdown machine. They feed that guy inside the 5, and he gets in. He's got 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games.
So I have a question for you before you continue on. Do you think that running backs? Do you think that the Ravens have proved that running backs don't really matter? Who you have at running back doesn't really matter.
But their scheme is so impressive.
That's what I'm saying. If you have a good line and your scheme is good, does it really matter who's your running back?
You're right. You could be right.
They use a multitude.
The 49ers too. They had for a long time Jeff Wilson Jr.
And it was working.
Mostert's good.
But now they have Christian McCaffrey.
And look what he's done with McCaffrey though.
Yeah,
but look what they were doing without McCaffrey for a long time. Yeah.
Listen, I think that
that's valid.
You're looking. I feel like you're looking more around the league and seeing these players who are coming in for injured running backs and performing. Deontay Foreman in Chicago came in for Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. He came in, he scored 3 touchdowns in 1 game.
Yeah.
Does it really matter? And the Bears are a decent running team. And you see in the Lions, who are a very good running team with David Montgomery, he goes out, Jahmyr Gibbs comes in and performs. Does it really matter who's at the running back position if your scheme and your line is good?
You might be right. But building that offensive line,
that's difficult.
It's tough. It's tough. But,
so,
all right, give me
what are your hopefuls for this week? What do you think the score is?
I think I'm a little biased because I have Jamar on my fantasy team. But Lamar is such a dog. And like I said earlier, these are 2 of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. But I think Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, Joe Shiesty rallies the troops. Joe Burr rallies the troops. He says, boys, we need to go on the road and we need to get this win. If we want to make the playoffs, we got to go on the road. We got to get this win. I think they come out hot. I think Jamar Chase has 12 catches. Big night from Jamar. He knows they're going to be doubling him. Big night from Jamar. I think the Bengals win 28-24. Jamar first touchdown.
I like it. I don't like the result. I don't like the first touchdown. Very good game. Both teams are going to be pumped. Both teams are going to be ready to play their AFC North rivals. Ravens are a little bit more built for moments like this. They're a better team, right? And we've seen that. The Bengals are a very good team.
Yeah.
They just haven't been performing this season, and that's fine. Ravens are playing better in the moment. Ravens 30, Bengals 27. first touchdown is going to be Zay Jones. No,
Zay Flowers.
Flowers.
Zay Flowers.
That's
okay.
his name.
Zay Flowers.
Zay Jones is on the
I thought you were going to go
Jaguars.
running back there because we were just
No, Zay
hyping up the
Flowers.
running backs.
I'm going to go Zay Flowers.
Okay.
Or yes. I'm
Okay.
going to go Zay Flowers because I feel like I see it in my head. They're on the 5. Lamar goes for a fake option. Zay Jones on the slant. Zay Flowers
Yeah,
on
Boston
the slant.
College
Zay
kid.
Jones plays for the Jaguars.
Zay Jones plays for the Raiders.
That
I think.
he used to play for the
or
Jaguars.
maybe the Patriots. Yeah, he used to play. What
No, he
team is
plays.
it?
He plays for the Jaguars.
Oh, he's still.
I knew it.
Who was
Don't
I
prove me
thinking
wrong.
of?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to do this real quick.
Zay Jones does play for the Jaguars.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
He used to play for the.
Oh, I was thinking Jacoby Myers. I don't know why I got those.
Jacoby Myers played for the Patriots.
Yeah,
Now he plays
I
for
had
the
those
Raiders.
two guys confused. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, Zay Jones. We got way off topic there. Zay Jones is a receiver.
Oh,
for
he
the
just got
Jacksonville
arrested.
Jaguars.
Nice. Zay Jones got arrested 2 days ago for a domestic battery charge.
Oh, Jesus. All right, folks. That's all we got for today. Great Thursday night football game. If you got nothing going on tonight, definitely 100% recommend tuning into that. And once again, tomorrow night, if you're around, you're on campus, WIUR is putting on festive frequencies tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, guys. Have a good weekend and a good Thanksgiving. We won't see you next week. It'll be Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, eat up. Enjoy that time with your families. Enjoy a little break from school. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, okay? Take care, guys. Have a good one.